Hello, my name is William Barrett Sims, and today we're going to talk about how to tune your guitar. It's a very important skill for anybody who's going to own a guitar, play a guitar. Being able to play in tune is important, just to sound good, and especially if you're going to play with other people, you definitely need to be in tune. We're going to look at two different options. One is a free option using an online website, guitar-tuner.app. I'll put a link in the description below, and in the description of this video they'll be in there. And I'll also show you two different clip-on tuners. Clip-on tuners are wildly popular. It's what most people use. I'm not going to cover pedal tuners, which is what most live performers use. They work just like the clip-on tuners. They're just on the floor. So let's go through the free online version first. So I'm going to show my screen over here. So here you can see it's called guitar-tuner.app. Again, I'll put a link in the description. When you first load it up and you click on Start Tuning, it'll ask you for access to your microphone. You have to allow access to the microphone because it needs to be able to hear your guitar. But once you do that, we can just say Start Tuning, and you can see it can hear what I'm doing. And then I'll play the E string, the low E. See, close enough for rock and roll, right? Yeah, so the strings are, just in case you don't know, E, A, D, G, B, E for standard tuning. And I'll put that in the description as well. E, A, D, G, B, E. I learned it, my instructor told me from outside in, so it's E's on the outside, then alpha, beta, delta, gamma, but there's a whole bunch of different ways to learn it. That's how I originally learned it. E, alpha, beta, delta, gamma. I don't know. He liked his Greek alphabet, I guess. But that's, so then you just, so you go and the first string is E. And there it is. It's close enough. A. That's close enough. D's close enough. G's right on. B's close enough. E's close enough. And this it'll actually tell you here the standard tuning here, and it's got this down here below to do that. So it works pretty well. There's some limitations to it. You can tell, like, if I'm talking, it's very difficult. It can't really pick it up. These they also have these kind of mic tuners for your phone as well, which is a great option. Bunch of free options there as well. The problem with them is you need to be in a quiet room. So if you're trying to tune and people are talking, or you're playing with other musicians and they're making noise, these tuners don't work. You're not going to be able to do it. I do a lot of open mics, host a lot of open mics, and every once in a while I'll see somebody come in and there's noise and there's musicians playing and they're trying to tune with an app on their phone and they get frustrated. So I really recommend going to so I'm going to take off the screen. I really recommend using a clip-on tuner. These are pretty inexpensive. There's a whole bunch of different brands out there. Doesn't really matter. They all kind of work the same. They work the same by sensing the vibration of the guitar, which is kind of neat. So you'll see here when I turn it on, and they all kind of work the same. It'll tell you what note you have, and then are you close or far from the note, or are you on? They all have some sort of indicator. So if I intentionally go flat, it tells me this is a D sharp, but I'm really trying to get an E, so I will turn it up. Sorry, I'm looking over here so you can see it. So you play the note, and it'll tell you, it says I'm flat for an E, so I have to keep going up. And now I'm on. They're pretty accurate. These kind of tuners are pretty accurate. I'll show you a strobe tuner in a second. They're a little bit more accurate, but for the most part, that's how they all work. So the A is on, the D's may be a little sharp, but close enough for rock and roll. G, B, then E. One of the things you'll want to do when tuning, let's say this E was sharp. So what I want to do is I want to tune below it. I want to turn the knob below it and then turn up to it. The problem is if I go down, if I just go down to it, and I'm like on, there's a little slack in the gear in the tuner. So if I pull on the string, you can tell it's just a little flat now. That's a common thing. So typically if you're sharp on a note, you want to tune down below the note. You want to tune, they call it tuning up to the note. So you want to tune up to the note. Right? Sometimes you miss, you start over again. There you go. That sounds fine to me. And your ears are always the best judge. If you're playing and it sounds off, it's off. There are a couple things that can throw tuning out. We'll talk about that in a second. This is a strobe tuner. This is my favorite kind of tuner that I use. They're a little bit different. They're highly accurate. This is a Peterson. A couple of other people make strobe tuners. TC Electric makes a pedal strobe tuner. Peterson makes a clip-on and a pedal strobe tuner. They're more expensive. They cost more. But I run a small recording studio, so I invest in the good tuners. So when people come in here, I tune their instruments for them. And a strobe tuner works a little bit differently. It actually shows you the wave, and the goal is to get the wave to not move at all. So you can see it's like a little sharp. They're super sensitive and highly accurate. Let's go. And like that, it's just a little sharp, but I'm not going to worry about it for now. Close enough for rock and roll, that's what we say. So some things that can affect your tuning stability. What they call tuning stability is like, oh, it's in tune. Like I put a tuner on it and it's all in tune, and then I start playing it and it's out of tune, or I'll start playing it and it sounds out of tune, or after a while, it's just the whole thing's out of tune. So a couple things can do that. If you don't tune up to the note, it will leave some slack in the gear. That will cause some tuning instability. We talked about that. Change in temperature and humidity will change. It will change pretty significantly depending on where you live. It'll change whether the body, the neck is short or long. That's why humidification is really important for your instruments, especially acoustic guitars. They like to be around like 45-50% relative humidity. Anything too high, you need to start taking moisture out of the air. Anything too low, you need to start adding it. I have a video on must-have guitar accessories. One of those things is humidification. I talk about that. Go check that out. Very important. The other thing is people overgrip, especially new guitar players. They press down super hard on the strings. So you can tell here, I'll just play this E, this open E, right? So this is on. If I play this G, all right, that G's on. And if I press down really hard on it, it goes sharp. So here, that's the G. Now I'm going to press down really hard. So a lot of new players, they grip the instrument really hard, and that's something you have to work on with lessons and drills and things to work on that. So you'll hear a lot of people, the guitar's in tune, but then they play it and it's like, oh, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound it sounds out of tune. So work with an instructor on that. That requires a lot of picking drills, some very specific things you can look at to do that. I have another video on YouTube on grip strength and some ways to address that. But you know, these guitars, even very inexpensive guitars, they'll stay in tune. We used to see with very inexpensive guitars, the tuning pegs were super cheap and they would never stay. That problem's been solved for the most part. You know, unless you're buying like a 20-year-old guitar for like $10, then you might run into the problem. But anything today now that's $100, you know, or more, they're fine. They're fine. You might have some issues with like the nut not being cut well. You know, a good instructor or somebody can check that out for you and let you know if you need to take it in and get an adjustment there. But it's pretty straightforward process to do. It's pretty easy to do. So that's tuning your guitar. I hope you found this helpful, and let me know if I can help you in the future. All right, thanks a lot.